there's still a lot of people asking questions about banking in the Philippines. So I figured I'd make a video about it. I've gotten several emails about it and people in the comments. And I've mentioned banking in the Philippines before in other videos, but I figured I'd kind of explain it more in detail. And it's a lot more simple than a lot of people are making it out to be. But I get it, because when I first got here, I wasn't sure how it worked either. I'd watched several videos too, and most of the ones that I'd watched are very accurate. There's pretty much no way, I mean, it's banking. There's no way to get out of paying in some kind of way. And even some people have preferences over here. I've talked to several expats that do it different ways. The way that I've been doing it seems to be the easiest and possibly the cheapest. If you stay to the end, I'll give you the biggest tip that I'm not doing, but I'm getting ready to start doing because I just researched it last night. I made this video yesterday, but it had got dark. This camera picks up very good in the dark, but not that dark. So I figured I'd redo it this morning. First cup of coffee, so y'all bear with me. But anyway, in the Philippines, as I'm sure you guys, if you're watching this video, that means you're most likely either thinking about retiring to the Philippines, moving to the Philippines, or coming here for even just vacation. And you want to know about how do you get your money from your country. My bank is based in the United States, and this holds true for any banks around the world. There's international ATMs here that it really doesn't matter what country you're from. They will exchange, using your debit card, they will exchange your country's banking system to the Philippine peso. And you can get that pretty much anywhere, in any city. Even here where I'm at in Darwin, there's 3 or 4 ATMs around here, and each one of them will do international transfers. And how that works for a regular debit card is just like it would at home, like in the United States. It's the same way. You just put your card in, enter your code, but here it would be a little bit different. Everything else is the same except for what I'm about to tell you. It's going to tell you that there's a fee because it's an international transfer, and all of the fees that I've seen have been 250 pesos, Filipino pesos, to 300 Filipino pesos. And the only one that I've seen that was actually 300 Filipino pesos was for Bank of China. But the cool thing about Bank of China is you can draw 20,000 Filipino pesos out at one time. Most of the banks only allow you to draw out 10,000 Filipino pesos at one time. And the Philippines is basically a cash-based society. So you're gonna need cash. If you're in the Philippines, you're gonna need cash, period. There's no way around it. Very few places, even restaurants, have anything that you can use a debit card or a credit card on. In most places, even if they do have that, they may not accept one card or the other. I've ran into that. Like if you have one, say if you have a MasterCard, one particular place may only accept Visa and not MasterCard, or vice versa. So the easiest way that I've found to be sure is to always keep cash. You know, you're going to need cash no matter what you do. There's no way around it. But anyway, back to the banking. Sorry, I get to rambling. Y'all know how I do. But I just was adding it up on all the fees because I'm a cheapskate. That 250 pesos that most of the ATMs will charge you for an international transfer is that much. And I've talked to other expats that do it different ways. Like one of the other most popular ways is people are doing Western Union transfers. And Western Union will give you your first transfer for free, no charge at all. And then there's, the fees are minimal, or it seems like it's minimal. But because of the exchange rates from your foreign country's currency to the Philippines country's currency, that's where they get you, because for Western Union. Not necessarily get you, that's how they make their money. Like for instance, I think July 31st, which was only 2 weeks ago, the exchange rate, good morning. The exchange rate was 58.17. And that was just like, I think, July 31st. Today, it's only 57 pesos per one US dollar. So if you was to get money last week, you would have got 1 peso more for each dollar that you exchanged at. But what happens with a place like Western Union is they may have it locked in at 57. Right now it's like 57.17. They may have it locked in for today's exchange rate for 57.5. So they're going to get that, 10 point or 0.10 off of you in the exchange rate. And on top of that, they're going to charge you whatever they charge depending on how much money you transfer. But to a lot of people's minds that I've talked to, a lot of expats' minds, it just feels like they're getting it cheaper because they don't actually get charged the 250. I hear so many complaints about getting charged the 250 pesos that it's crazy. It's just, there's a way around that. And like I said at the beginning, just stick around and I'll tell you how to eliminate that completely. But it's not much money anyway. And even in ATMs in the US, for instance, if you're not going to your ATM that your bank deals with, like we have in North Carolina, we had cash points, and no matter which cash points you go to, they charge you for drawing out money either way, and that's how they earn their money at the cash points. Like if you bank with Wells Fargo or something like that, and you go to a cash points, you're going to pay even in the United States, and it's a little less than here. I think in the United States, if I remember correctly, it was like $2.50 to draw out money. But it was $2.50 whether you took out $20 or $200. That's the crazy part. Here, that's how they make their money because they limit how much you can take out in the first place. Most banks only allow you to draw out the 10,000 Filipino pesos, which is that much in USD. And they're going to charge you 250 Filipino pesos to do so. The best deal, if you're paying that transfer fee, is to go to Bank of China. I don't know of one near where I'm at. I've found 2 Bank of China ATMs in Dumaguete. There may be more, but I know where 2 of them's at, and I've used both of them to pull out money. And both of them, to pull out 20,000 Filipino pesos from my US banking account, cost me 300 Filipino pesos. And it's not bad. And I was just looking at it. I was doing a little research on Western Union because that's the other most popular way. And it seems to be, like I said, it's kind of an illusion, but if you pull, I'll give you an example. I've talked to several expats. They wait for the exchange rate to be at its peak. Like they'll wait until the exchange rate is very high and they'll get their money in bulk. And because the charge is somewhat hidden, they feel like they're getting a better deal. But just that 0.10 that Western Union isn't giving them, like last week, whenever it was, or 2 weeks ago, when the exchange rate was 58.17, I think July 31st. If you pulled money out, or if you transferred money that day because the exchange rate was high, you may have only gotten 58 pesos per each US dollar. So the Western Union would have got the 0.17. I don't really know what the charge is, but that's how they make their money. And then on top of that, they would charge you a transfer fee depending upon the amount of money that you had transferred. But you can eliminate all that. You don't have to do any of that if you do one thing. And this is the only option that I know that you literally can bank as if it's free everywhere. And that is by getting and I'm not sponsored or in any way, shape, form, or fashion affiliated with Charles Schwab. But if you get a Charles Schwab checking account, which I don't have, I've got an investment account with Charles Schwab, But to be honest with you, I never even thought about doing a banking account because I've never seen a Charles Schwab ATM or branch. So I didn't really think about it until now. I've done my research, and I've heard somebody say it before, but they reimburse you for all international, well, all ATM fees, period, around the world, no matter if it's international or even in your local state. Apparently, they do it even for like the cash points. Like if you're in America and you're using the cash points and they charge you that $2.50, Charles Schwab at the end of the month apparently will reimburse you for all of those. And there's no limit. There's no limit to how many you can do. So if you are planning to retire into the Philippines, anyone from any country, because as far as I know, Charles Schwab will allow anybody to open an account with Charles Schwab from any country, from what I've gathered. And I'm getting ready to do that today, actually, because I found out. And it's not a lot of money. Even if you don't do that, like I said, it's not that big of a deal. Because if you're drawing out, I probably spend in cash, you know what I mean? Like I have to pay my rent in cash. I rent my motorbike in cash. The only thing I even use my card for that is like normal, like at home to where you're using a debit card, is if you go to like, which I don't eat McDonald's, but you can use it at McDonald's and the Jollibees and all the places like that, the chain food restaurants, they will take your card. KFC, it's everywhere. And the big chain grocery stores, like Robinson's and Lee Plaza, you can use your card at those places, no problem. But even at those places, you won't see it, but you're not getting the exchange rate, the full value of that exchange rate whenever you do use your card, whether you're using it at a restaurant that accepts the card or you're using it at the grocery store. They're going to give you the option of choosing to pay in USD because they will accept it. They will accept USD as the currency, or they will accept the Filipino peso as a currency. And what I have found, at least at most of the stores that I have done the research on after the purchase, I didn't know what to choose. I didn't know whether to choose Filipino peso or USD. And now that I've looked at it, you come out better choosing whatever your country's currency is. Because if you choose Filipino peso, like in my case, I'm from the US, so I'm using the US dollar, and my bank is based in the US. So when I choose Filipino peso, I thought I was getting a better deal, but come to find out, the store is going to have you locked in on an exchange rate. And that exchange rate could be like 56 pesos per $1. And they may just leave it there at all times, like all year long. But if you go look right now, if you pull up your phone and you look at the exchange rate from the US dollar to the Filipino pesos, it fluctuates up and down, but it pretty much hovers between 57 and 59, somewhere in between there. Well, you can say 50, it hovers between 56 and 59. But on average, it's above 57. But if you just use your card at one of those places, even like McDonald's, you're probably just going to get a flat rate of 56 pesos per $1, which is not a good deal. If you do like I've been doing, if you don't have Charles Schwab, which I don't yet, and you want to go to the ATM, it's not as difficult. I've got an email from several people, man, that are really concerned with that, and it's not that big of a deal. It's the same thing in the United States. Exactly, nothing's any different. The only tip that I can give you, and I've mentioned this in another video, if you're using the ATMs here, which the ATMs here will run out of cash frequently, especially on Sundays, because, you know, of course, the banks ain't open over the weekend, and sometimes by Sunday, it's out of money. But I'll give you two recommendations. As far as drawing money out, it is the same as everywhere else in the world. You stick your card in, you put your PIN number in, and tell them how much money you want, which the max is going to be 10,000 pesos or 20,000 pesos if you're at Bank of China. And the fee's always going to be 250 pesos, no matter what the exchange rate is. So if you wait until the exchange rate is higher than normal, you have to be careful, because it's going to give you an option on the ATM. It's going to say, this ATM uses a locked-in exchange. Would you like to use the locked-in exchange rate? And it makes it sound like a good thing. Choose no, because if you choose yes, you're probably going to get, 56 pesos per $1. It's not, and if you're going on the day that it's at its highest, like if it's at 58, you don't want to choose that. You want to choose no. And from what I have found, it's always best to choose no. Don't accept whatever the exchange rate the bank has. Just tell them no, and it'll go by whatever that rate is at that moment, and it's always changing, just like the stock market. That's going to be your best bet. So, and even then, if you don't have even if you do have Charles Schwab, it's going to charge you 250 pesos at that moment. But at the end of the month, without you doing anything, if you've made 10 ATM withdrawals, that means you spent 2,500 Filipino pesos off of 10 withdrawals, which is that much right there. They're going to Charles Schwab is going to reimburse you that money at the end of the month, every time without fail. So no matter where you're coming from, any Western country that is retiring in the Philippines, or even coming here for vacation. Well, if you're coming here for vacation, I guess it's not as important. But if you're retiring here, that's the best deal you can get. Shoot, even if you're not retiring in the Philippines, that's the only bank I know of, the bank that I know of that gives full reimbursement for as many withdrawals as you want to make. I don't know of any other bank that does that, honestly. So that's, a good tip. Good for Charles Schwab. But hopefully this helps some of you guys out and clears some things up. I'll say this too. Of course, you're going to need cash here in the Philippines. I've said that, but I got people asking me about opening up a Philippines bank account, and you can do that. But as far as the benefits to that, unless you're running a business here, it's not necessary. Because even if you transfer, like do a direct transfer from your home bank to your Philippines bank account, there's still a charge. It's the same as just like if you was using the ATM. So there's not much monetary benefit by doing that. And as far as ease of use or anything like that, like more convenient, you're still going to go to the same ATM. As a matter of fact, you might be locked into one ATM if you do it that way. But anyway, hopefully this helps some of you guys out. For now, I'm out.